My name is Ronnie Mandler. I'm the president of Best Energy Power. Best Energy Power is known mainly in New York. 22% of total commercial buildings installation were done by us. The reason why I mention New York, because New York City is the hardest terrain in the, I believe, nationwide to install anything. So if we are experienced in New York City, we are experienced in New Jersey as well. Of course, we do New Jersey as well. I'll divide my presentation to two parts. The first part will be kind of Solar 101, so you'll understand how it works. And then we'll put a spreadsheet on the screen, and we'll explain all the economics, all the numbers, so you see how great it is to put a solar on a co-op building. So solar PV works on sunlight. We have 365 days a year, we have power. As long as we have light out there, we have power. It has nothing to do with temperature. It can be 20 degrees below, we have light, we have power. We calculate in this area 4.5 hours of daylight on average of 365 days. So when you hear only 4.5 hours, it sounds very low, but it's an average. December short day, June long day, cloudy days, snow days, bright days, nice days, rain days. That data comes from the energy department, collected over the last 30 years. What I'm trying to say, it's accurate, we can rely on that data. To prove that, actually, if you remember last year, January and February, we were kind of covered with snow. So the canopy was covered with cloud, less amount of light. But October, November, and some of December, we had bright, nice skies. Was very warm. Well, temperature doesn't have to do, but we have nice bright sky, which compensated for the low light in January and February. As a matter of fact, if you remember, a couple of years ago in the summer, June is the longest day on daylight on the average, June 21st. So on June, a couple of years ago, it was raining the whole month. Actually, somebody said it rains twice, once for 10 days and again for 2 weeks. But what I'm trying to say, it rained a lot. That means the canopy was covered with cloud, and the amount of light on the longest months in terms of daylight on the average was kind of shady from the clouds. That year in December, we had a nice bright sky, which compensated for that June. So what I'm trying to say, that data of 4.5 hours of daylight average is a data we can rely. We have over here in New Jersey a law which is called net meter. Net meter means that whenever you produce excess amount of power, all the excess power is going back to the utility. Your meter literally goes backwards. So the utility acts as a kind of a bank. You deposit inside, you deposit kilowatt to take it back in the winter time. So let's say June 21st, again, it's the longest day on the average. You produce a lot of power, and there's nobody home, like you don't use even the electricity. All the excess power goes back to the utility. Either you take it the first night because there's no light out there, or basically the whole idea is to get it back in the wintertime when you actually need it, because on the wintertime the daylight is much shorter, so you don't have enough power. So the first thing that we'll ask every customer is give us your electric bill. We'll go to the utility. We'll actually access the data of your last 12 months energy. Once we know what's your 12 months energy, we know how much we have to actually offset. Then we have a special program that we can zoom into your roof. We can take it out in 3D, measure, see what's on the roof, and see how much space. Combined to that, we are going to prepare a spreadsheet that you'll see in a second, a generic one, that we can tell you exactly all the numbers. That means how much can you save, what's the roof space, how much can we fit on the roof, and of course the return of investment. Solar panels are guaranteed for 25 years. Now what's guaranteed is the output. Remember, when you buy solar, you don't care about the panels themselves. What you actually care is the output. That's what you buy. So something like this, guaranteed for 25 years, it's a very strong statement, because these days, if somebody gives you 15 years warranty, you'll be happy as well. Going the extra mile and giving you 25 years speaks for itself. One of the questions that everybody always asks, so what about maintenance? The only maintenance that you have to do on a solar system is once in a while take a look and say, wow, how beautiful it is. I'm sarcastic because there is no maintenance. I'm sure all of you have the calculator, desk calculator, either at home or in the office, that has that small strip that works on light, and you have it for the last 10 years, and it fell on the floor a few times, and you spilled some coffee while you were working, but anytime you push on, it works perfect. No degradation, no short of power, no cleaning, no maintenance, no nothing. In a sense, that's what you're going to do. You're going to take that small strip, put it up on the roof, and generate for the building. Also, a good example is all the satellites that turning the globe for 25 years, and they're all powered by solar panels. No maintenance, no degradation of power. There's nothing you should do. You just put it, and it generates the power. Two side advantages on solar panels. Number one, you're going to put it on the roof. What actually deteriorates the roof membrane is the weather, or what we call the weather abuse, mainly direct sun, wind, rain. Now you're going to cover it with solar panels. So all that kind of abuse is going to be taken by the solar panels. So if the membrane of the roof has a lifespan of 5-10 years, now you're going to double. Now it's going to have 20-25 years, because the direct sun is being absorbed by mainly the direct sun is going to be absorbed by the solar panel and protect the roof membrane. Another kind of side benefit is energy. So when you put it on the roof, actually you create another insulation on the roof. So when you create another insulation on the roof, it protects the envelope of the building. That means in the wintertime, you're going to save energy on heating because it's maintaining the temperature. And in the summertime, you're going to maintain the air condition because it keeps the temperature inside the building steady. So kind of a side effect, you are saving some energy. That's kind of a method that's very hard to measure because, cold or wind comes from the side. So you'll see some saving, but it's very hard to measure. That's what I'm trying to say. Any questions until now? Yes, sir.
Is there a figure of kilowatt hours per square foot panel? Is there a number?
Okay, so the question if we can estimate a figure, a square foot. So efficiency in solar is watt per square feet. That means how many watt you can put per square feet. The solar panels that we use right now is 19.5, almost 20 watt per square feet, meaning 20% efficiency. I believe the next question will come, okay, so what about the new technology? How do we know that we put today the solar and tomorrow we are not outdated? The new technology in solar is what is called the nanotechnology or thin film technology. The nanotechnology is you are using only 4 or 5 watt per square feet. That means to generate the same amount of power, you'll need 5 times more roof space, which you don't have. So the next question will be, how come the new technology is not that efficient? Because the new technology is after utility scale. That means the utility takes half a mountain, cover it, or they go to Arizona in the desert. Land doesn't have restraining in terms of space, and they can put as much as they need, so there's no limitation. Today, the difference in terms of price between the silicon-based panels to nanotechnology is very minimal. It's about 5%, so it doesn't mean. You'll see how good in silicon the return of investment. There's no reason why to go to nanotechnology or thin film. Other questions? Yes, sir.
When you do one of these flat roof installations, do you have to pierce the membrane, or is there some sort of
So you have seen in all the installation there are two ways. Okay, one that we put a ballast system, which is a weight, or one like this that we actually penetrate the roof. When we do a ballast system, that means a smaller system because we put each panel separate from the other. This is another kind of penetrated. Very soon you'll see a picture with the ballast. The problem with the ballast system that you have to leave space. We calculate everything to December 21st when the sun is at the lowest point. So if you have two panels, one after the other, you want to make sure the front panel won't shade the back panel. So the difference, like the space in between, in those panels, you have to leave about 31 inches. So it's a kind of a 31 inches of dead space. While the other, you actually connect one on top of the other, one on top of the other. So if we do penetrate, we give you a 5 years warranty on the labor that we do. So if you have kind of a leak, you want to wait for the first rain, first storm, first summer, first year, second year, we go the extra mile and we give you a 5 years warranty on that labor. To protect ourselves in a way that you won't come, oh, before I never had a leak, now you put solar, I have leaks all over. We go and scan the roof. So when we go and scan the roof, if we find any kind of a moisture under the membrane, in a small scale, we'll go and fix it at our expense. Basically, we are protecting ourselves not to come back and then take the solar off, repair, and then put the solar back. So we rather take the extra step up front and do it up front. I want to add one more thing that I forgot to mention before. We also bring to every roof a structurally engineer to make sure that the roof can sustain the weight and sustain the weight of the panel with additional snow load of 25 pounds per square feet. 25 pounds per square feet is actually ice. We never got in this area to that, but there's a big safety factor just to make sure it can hold the load. Yes, sir.
Our community, we have 9 buildings. They all have pitched roofs. We also have possibly a piece of property next to us that the panels could fit on. Which way would we be better off? We are thinking that if you put it on the roof and we had to do roof repairs, we'd have a problem.
Okay, so it's very easy to take. So first of all, I'll start from the end. If you need to do a roof repair, every panel is actually the infrastructure of the mounting. It's the kind of the complicated stuff. Each panel is actually 4 screws, okay? There is kind of a clamp that holds it down to the rail. So the railing is the kind of the complicated. But if you need to take it off, less than 5 minutes to take a panel off. So this is not a problem. My recommendation would be first utilize the roof. And if you need more power, do what you saw before, like this, kind of a carport. So you can have either cars parked under, or we can just do a ground mount.
Which is more efficient, or
It's not, as long sun comes in the east, goes down in the west. We would like to do as much as we can to the south. That's the best exposure. We are in latitude 40.7. So you would think that if you put the panel in a 40 degrees, you'll be perpendicular to the sun. But the sun is higher in the summer, lower in the winter. The difference is about 15 degrees. So anywhere in the vicinity of 20, 25 degrees towards the south will be the best. So let's say if you have kind of a tilted roof and it's an A shape, if you have, let's assume you have south and north, on the north side we'll never put panels because it's always going to be shaded. So we'll do east, west, and south, never north.
are there any government programs presently?
Yes, so when I'll go to the numbers, there's a lot. You'll see what the highly subsidy there is. There's a lot of that. Yes, please.
Besides the actual panels, what other equipment do you have to install?
Sure.
And then the second question I had was, I know you mentioned about the meter going backwards. What if the meter, if you have enough power, panels, and very low consumption, that the meter's always going backwards? Will the utility company reimburse you or pay you money?
In terms of reimburse you, I'll explain when I'll explain the numbers. In terms of equipment, we use solar edge technology. That means every panel has an optimizer. So the reason for those optimizers, it's like by the name, to optimize the amount of power. Let's say you have a flashlight, okay, and you have 5 batteries, plus to minus, plus to minus, plus to minus in a series. And the battery in the center is a little weak. Because it's kind of in a series, 1 plus to minus, whatever is behind that battery is going to be weak as well. But if you can read each one of the battery directly to the light bulb, that means the reduction of power will be only for that particular battery, which is low. How do we translate it into solar? You have an array of 20, 25, 30 panels, okay? And now you have a cloud that change just 3 panels. You want to make sure that it's only kind of reduce the amount of power for those 3 panels and not for the whole string. With those optimizers, they read directly to the inverter, and then the reduction of power is only for those 3 panels. Now the cloud moves, you'll have it on another 3 clouds. So that's in terms of the amount of equipment that we put in the solar. Those inverters can be anywhere in the building. They can be, they're all outdoor. It can be on the roof. It can be on the side of the building. It can be in the basement. It doesn't really matter where they are.
So the panels are put in parallel, not in series?
No, they are in series with optimizer, but they're being read as if it's parallel. Exactly. Yes, sir.
25-year warranty. Is that for the full 19.5 watts per square foot, or is it prorated?
It's prorated, but the first 10 years, you're going to have it at 90%. Year 11 to 25 is at 80%. It's still substantial. By the way, they are doing it because they say should be kind of you have to calculate some degradation, okay? So in theory, in reality, there is no degradation. Because we can read each one of the panel, you are going, and we connect it to the internet, you'll be able then to see the power every day and then consuming every year. So you'll be able to compare this year to last year, same months before, same months before, same months before. If you'll see every month's difference, but at the end of the year, same. So there is no degradation. The degradation that is calculated on paper is 0.5%. In reality, there is no degradation. If there was any degradation that calculated that I explained before, after 10 years, if you'll push on, it won't be enough to power that small calculator. Yes, please.
Can you please speak to the difference between owning and leasing?
When we'll go to the numbers, okay? I'll give also an example of kind of leasing. The monetary or the economics of leasing one. That's when we'll present the numbers. Yes, please.
What is the cost of the installation, and does it depend on the size of the community?
So I'll be a little sarcastic, okay? How much is a red car? What kind of a red car? What kind of an engine? How many doors? So what we do first, there's no rule of thumb. The rule of thumb that we have to take your consumption in the last 12 months, see what kind of a system we have to do to offset that consumption. All right? Usually on the first, when we give you kind of a proposal, we'll go to 96% when we'll go to the numbers of the last 12 years. When we go to the numbers, I'll explain why it's 96% and not 100%. Yes, please.
Can you store the power that you generate on your property without sending it back to the utility company?
Yes, of course, but I don't recommend yet to do it, okay? So you can charge batteries. The problem with batteries, that the whole idea is no maintenance. With batteries, every year you have to do maintenance. Every 5 years, because of the cycle, empty it and charging it back, you'll have to replace the batteries. The whole idea of solar, because of the highly subsidy and no maintenance, put it once on the roof and that's it. No maintenance, just use the consumption. By the way, I forgot to answer one of your points before. So in terms of the utility, you are always connected to the utility. So let's say you have a building that needs 100 kilowatt to operate, okay? Now it's a bright sunny day, you're actually generating 120 kilowatt. The extra 20 kilowatt is going back to the grid. Now let's take a cloudy days, okay? So now you're generating only 80 kilowatt, but you still need to operate the building 100 kilowatt. So the first 80 kilowatt from the system is going to go to the building, and then you're going to retrieve from the utility the 20 kilowatt to operate the 100 kilowatt, and those are the 20 kilowatt that you actually deposit before on a sunny day. So you're always connected to the grid.
One of the things I was interested in is when they're saying there's a power failure, you know.
Unfortunately, when there's a power failure, the system is going to shut off. And the reason why, it's safety for the utility. So let's say you have a building and the utility comes over there and they're going to service your next door neighbor. So they're going to shut off the utility. But you are going with net metering to actually put some kilowatt into the grid. That guy is going to be electrocuted the next door. So there is a safety feature. When the grid is down, it doesn't know if it's utility related or weather related. The moment the utility, there is no utility connected or powering, the system will shut itself off automatically.
So there's like no way to charge a generator or a battery?
You can charge a battery, yes, you can. You can put a controller, but then it's kind of another system once you use battery. Look, the whole idea of Elon Musk, okay, with Tesla is great. Eventually, it will come through. So you'll be completely independent. You're going to have a power room that you're going to charge battery, so no net meter with the utility. You're going to charge the battery, take off the battery. You don't care anymore about the battery. You have direct connection. I believe this will take a couple of years to happen, but that's the direction. Yes, sir.
I believe I heard you mention that most of the buildings you put solar in New York were co-ops.
Not necessarily, no. There's also privately held. Well,
Some condominiums.
condo and co-op, for tax reason, you'll see for the benefit, considered the same in terms of the subsidy. Look, solar in general is the same to everything, if privately owned, condo, or co-op, or not-for-profit organization. The only difference is slightly different in the tax benefit, which is kind of, you'll see what kind of a subsidy. It's very highly subsidized. So if there's no more question, I suggest we'll go to the numbers, and then if you remember something else, we can always go back. Yes, sir.
Do you happen to know the value of the S-racks right now?
What I'm going to kind of present is a 200. As of yesterday, before we present this, we checked it was 220. I'll explain about the S-rack in a second once we'll put it up. So this is a 50 kilowatt system on a building. So the first assumption over here that you pay 16 cents per kilowatt, excluding demand charge. I'll explain what's demand. Let's say it's an elevator building. Anytime an engine starts, there is kind of a surge of electricity, and then it evens out. The utility company comes and say, look, for those few seconds that you need the surge, we put an infrastructure 24/7. It's not fair that we can only bill you for those few seconds. So they give a demand charge. They actually check 30 minutes on average of 30 days, and they give you additional charge for the demand. That means like the availability of the infrastructure, that whenever you need the surge, you can have one. So usually it's about kind of 2 cents. This is why we calculate over here 16. So if you are paying 16 and you are going to put a 50 kilowatt is going to generate 56,000, I'll talk in round numbers, 56,000 kilowatt annually. We'll need on the roof 3,800 square feet. The S-rack base is at 20 cents per watt. What is the S-rack? S-rack stands for Solar Renewable Energy Certificate. There are some states that they say all the utilities, such as New Jersey, Ohio, I don't remember, there are some states, I don't remember the whole list of states, that the government of the state says, okay, all utility, you have to be 20% green by year 2020 on your portfolio, and you have to be 35% green on your portfolio by year 2035. So if you have a utility and you are not getting it, you can buy a certificate. Every 1,000 kilowatt that the system generates, it doesn't matter if you use it or you send it back as net meter, equals to one certificate. At the end, the utility are buying it, those certificates, and selling it or giving it to the government in exchange for not being green. Until there'll be 20% green, there is a long, long way. So New Jersey created the market, and it kind of goes up and down, up and down. In the last few years, it's in the vicinity of 200. Yesterday, I think it was 223 or 228, I checked, okay? To be on the safe side, we took 10% down, and we take it as a value of 20 cents only. That whole kind of thing over here is kind of being conservative. So worst case scenario, this is why we take a little off. It's only going to be, in reality, it's only going to be better than that. So basically, when you generate, you registered yourself with the SREC, you find the market maker, you sell it to them at those prices every 6 months, and you actually get a check. All right, so a 50 kilowatt, the gross cost will cost you $150,000. You have a federal tax credit of 30%, which is $45,000. How does it apply to a co-op? Because a co-op or condo is a not-for-profit organization. Each shareholder on his own tax return can get his percentage of the total on his personal tax return. So let's say you have a co-op, and I'll just use again round number, and you own 10% of the co-op, 10% of shares. On your personal tax return, you are allowed to use $4,500 as a credit. Now, please note, it's a credit, it's not a deduction. So it's $1 of $2 on liability on your federal taxes. You can have the full amount on the first year, but the law allows you to actually stretch it over 6 years. Let's say you don't have that money, or you don't have that liability, or you have only a portion of that liability on the first year, you can stretch it over 6 years. The next line is the yearly state SREC payment. So we said before 20 cents. 20 cents multiplied by 56,000 kilowatt, that means $11,000 you're going to get a check every year. The next line is yearly utility saving. We said you're going to produce 56,000, multiplied by the 16 cents is $9,000. You can actually see there's an escalation of the saving. The escalation of the saving over here is calculated at 3.7%. The data shows that over 15 years, the average is about 5%. We want to be conservative. This is why we put only 3.7% as value for the saving on the electricity. So if you calculate everything over here, you'll see that basically, at the end of the day, out of 150,000, you're at $84,000 out of pocket, which is close to almost 50%. It's about 55% of your initial. That means you have 45% subsidy on the system. Second year, you're going to have again the SREC for 11,000. You're going to have a saving of 9,400. So combined, those two savings is $21,000. I'm sorry, 20,000. You were with a negative cash flow on the first year of 84,000. Deduct those 20 positive. So in the second year, your cash flow is 63 negative. Same goes for the third year, fourth year. Fifth year, you're already in positive cash flow. That means it's a 4-year return of investment. 4 years return of investment means 25% on your money, guaranteed. And I say guaranteed because as long as you use the electricity, it's kind of guaranteed. Where can you get today guaranteed 25% of your money, at least for the first 4 years, and then of course continuing. So you can see after 10 years, it's $115,000 that you have positive in your pocket with extra free electricity. So some of the people say, okay, we want to finance it, all right? So this is a financing over 7 years. That's a capital lease. That means it's kind of a loan. You own the system on day one, so you are entitled to all the benefit on day one. So we saw before, your out-of-pocket is $150,000. This is calculated at 6.75%. 6.75% is not good, is not bad, somewhere in the middle. I'm sure while negotiating, you can get it better. But what we want to show you how good it is at 6.75%. Remember before, we saw that you have 25% return of investment. So you can actually borrow the money on credit card with 11%, and you still have a delta or a spread over there between the 11 to the 25%. So if you borrow the money at 6.75, you have to pay $2,200 every month, which means almost $27,000 a year. All the benefits are still the same. You own the system. So if you calculate all those benefits, basically at the end of the year, you are going to be in positive cash flow of $38,000. Second year, you still have to pay the $26,000. You have only about $20,000 positive cash flow. So you are short, you're in a negative cash flow for the year of $6,000, but you carry positive cash flow on the first year of $38,000. So now in terms of cash flow of second year, you're down to 32. Same goes for years 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 7. What I'm trying to show you over here, that if you finance, you are never with money out of pocket. The system benefit actually pays for the loan. So you acquire a system while no money out of pocket. Technical how it's being done, you said, okay, we have to come on the first year for $26,000. So just think that you have kind of a pot, everybody put by his own share the money into the pot together to get $26,000. But you can get immediately on your tax return $11,000. I'm sorry, you're getting on the yearly SREC $11,000. Each one of you is getting like his share on the $45,000, and of course the utility saving on what you have to pay for the building to have the power on. That's what creates in that bucket $38,000 positive cash flow. So what we call it, we say it's the same pants, left pocket to the right pocket, but it's still the same pants. That's how you actually create, and this is why in 7 years it pays for itself when you are never with money out of pocket. You mentioned before like other financing. There is another financing which is called PPA, Purchase Price Agreement. Somebody, a third party comes to you and said, okay, look, I'm going to put the money, I'll take all the benefit, you're paying today 16 cents, I'll sell you the power at 14 cents, 13 cents, 12 cents. So you're saving about 10, 15, 20% on your electric usage while not doing anything. The guy who puts it actually gets the power free from the sun and sells it to you. If you are bankable and you can get a capital lease, somebody to lend you the money, I don't think there's any reason why to go to PPA, because basically they are making money on your money. So I don't see any reason. There's a lot of guys who probably you heard calling you. Probably you heard also a lot of guys calling you, telling no money down, we'll put the system 20 years. If you look at the numbers, it's not. If you are bankable, and today getting the credit or getting the loan, it's much easier than it was a few years ago. Borrow the money, let the benefit pay for the system. Don't use those PPA systems. One thing that I want to add to all of that. So now that you see that you have about 45% subsidy, Let's say we come to the roof and you need a new roof. Like right now, it's definitely the roof cannot be even fixed. You need a new roof. So we bought a roofing company a couple of years ago. We are authorized to be a roofing company by GAF. GAF is the biggest roofing company in the US. They are going to give you 20 years on a new roof warranty, 20 years warranty, part and labor for 20 years. And we are not going to call it actually roof. We are going to call it solar preparation. So basically, we take the number of the roof, embedded into the solar. Now it's solar. You are entitled to all those benefits. So basically, you are getting a new roof at 45% off. So our price to begin with on the roof will be very competitive. We are not looking to sell you a roof because we do the roof at cost. So if you just need a roof, we are not the right guy. We are only going to do a roof if we do solar on the same roof. So just consider that if you need a new roof. Any questions? Yes, sir.
If I do the math right here, it looks like you're projecting 14.74 kilowatt hours per square foot.
I'm not sure I understand your
If I
calculation.
take the 56,693 kilowatt hours a year and divide it by the
Okay,
square
no, so the
footage.
calculation is different. The calculation is a little more complicated. So we are going to we have to convert 50 kilowatt DC to AC, kilowatt hour. So we said 50 kilowatt, multiply by 4.5 hours a day, okay, of daylight, multiply by 365 days, so we know the total, but now we have to do the conversion between DC to AC. The method that we use over here is 23% D rate, because you have a loss factor. So that's basically the formula how we got to the 56,000. So if you do that formula, you'll get to 56,000.
Okay, so, but then bottom line, it looks like it's about 14.74 kilowatt hours per year per square foot, correct? Because we were using something closer to 19.
Yeah, but this kind of, it's a perfect, yes, but it's not the right way how to do it, and
No,
I'll
no,
explain to you why.
And that's fine. I'm just trying to get what a more realistic or what the realistic number per square
So
foot
what I
of
suggest,
production is.
do it kilowatt installed. So we'll charge you $3 per watt installed. That's the right way how to calculate. You know, if it's bigger or it's smaller, the calculation is per watt installed. By the way, it's A to Z. So we'll help you with the registration of the SREC. We'll go to the building department and get the permit. We'll go to the utility. We'll get you the net metering, all the filing. It's an A to Z. I mentioned before, we'll bring a structural engineer. It's a turnkey project that will do A to Z.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
What about a carport type installation?
So you saw before a carport. So carport goes the same. It's only a little more expensive. You'll have to add about $1.15. So it's about $4.15. So instead of 4 years, you'll be to 5 years. Yes, sir.
Is all of this applicable even if you purchase your electricity from an alternate supplier?
So it's a good question. So let's say you have an ESCO. At the end of the day, when you have an ESCO, you still pay in the vicinity of 16. ESCO will come and tell you, you know, do a deal with me 3, 4, 5 years. If you check at the end, you don't pay 16, you pay 15.2. But once you have a solar, you don't need the ESCO anymore because you offset the electricity. Yes, sir.
These subsidies, how do they apply to condo associations in New Jersey? I know about New York, you talked about that.
This is New Jersey. It says on the top it's New Jersey. New York, it's a little different. Because in New York, you don't have SREC, you have rebate, and you have also New York City tax abatement. But also to install in New York costs way more than to install in New Jersey.
So what subsidies are available to condos in New Jersey, federal and state? Are they both available?
No, there is no any more state. Actually, the state is the SREC system. So that's what you get as a state. The 30% tax credit is a federal benefit. The federal benefit, by the way, goes down on 2019 from 30 to 10%. Yes, sir.
Can you explain more about the federal benefit? How does that work? Because it goes to the individual? Is that going for condo and co-op?
Yes.
How do you account for that? Because that
Okay. So let's say, okay, you have to kind of assess who owns what percentage. Assuming, just to make it round number, to make it easy, you have 10% of the shareholders, either condo or co-op, it doesn't matter. So out of the $45,000, you are entitled to a 10% of the 45,000. So you are entitled, so the management of the building or the board just send you a copy of the contract, copy of the invoice by us, and that's fine. That's a backup for your accountant.
I'm looking from the other side, from the condo. How are they going to account for that? Are they basically going to have to ask each homeowner to?
Yes. So you have to put the money in the pot, okay? So if in a condo, usually it's not an even percent. Sometimes also in a co-op. So by the percentage, so let's say we said before you have to come to with $150,000 up front, okay? So if you have to come, whatever the share that you owe, that's the amount that you also have to put in the pot. So what you put in the pot, it's the same percentage that you take out.
But have you found in practice that that's difficult because then each individual person is going to complain that, oh, my tax is owed, I'm not eligible for the thing, I have a complicated tax thing.
Usually it's, so in some buildings, what I've seen in co-op, the management is doing the assessment, the management of the building, if you have an outside management. And if it's not, it's smaller that you manage your own, the board is doing it. It's a simple, you put it on Excel, you know, it's an Excel, it's a very simple calculation, you know.
Numbers work out, so you assess them this much, but this is how much they're going to get in tax credit. But people are always going to come, oh, but I didn't do it. I found my taxes different. I didn't get the credit. I didn't get the...
So that's wherever they file on their taxes. So everybody individual files his own tax return. If they do it on themselves, okay, we'll send you the form. We'll show you. I believe on the form it's... send me an email and I'll tell you exactly the form. But on the form, the IRS gives you exactly... They tell you for energy, 30%.
Practical experience that it actually works smoothly, that there isn't too much resistance from individual people, that they figure it out, that they're able to do it.
Listen, whenever you have a lot of people, everybody has his opinion, you know, so everybody. One of the problems that some of the people are not educated enough to understand, and then either the board asks me to give an explanation to do the same presentation in front of the board, or to the whole shareholder, and we don't mind, you know, to come and do. Look, when you buy something, you either want to touch it or you want to visualize it. Solar, electricity, you cannot touch, it's electricity, and it's very hard to visualize. So it's a numbers game. So if you understand the numbers, and this is why we did everything on one spreadsheet, if you understand the numbers, then it's easy. This is why I use those metaphors, you know, with the bucket you put and you take out. So you just, what we said, the coin has to fall into the slot, you know, and like, then they understand, so. Yes, sir.
If you have an apartment building with 30 tenants or 30 unit owners,
Yeah.
Can one of them say no? They don't want to go along with this? Are they all forced to go?
Look, yes and no. So let's say one doesn't want to go. You tell him, listen, you don't share the SREC benefit because it's a check coming. So whatever, let's say 30, so the benefit of that check is going to be divided only on 29. Okay? Then regarding the electricity saving, you can tell that shareholder, listen, you're not going to have, so you are going to pay your share of electricity before solar, because you can always see on your account before solar and after solar. So before solar, that used to be the bill, you'll pay us of the share of your share of the electricity saving. Eventually, the only thing you're going to lose in a way is his share of 30%. But because you are going to gain his SREC and electricity saving, eventually after a couple of years, you pay yourself what he didn't get.
But he can't stop the price.
No. It's also divided by, by the law of the co-op or the condo. So if you have something kind of internal that one shareholder can stop it, then there's nothing we can do. Yes, sir.
One question in reference to what he said, that people can claim tax credit, and probably what he, I don't know, probably what he, I understand that suppose 10% members are not paying any taxes because they are in a bracket where they don't pay taxes, then they will oppose it, they say we don't benefit from it.
Correct. Yes, correct. But then the way, to offset this, you have to pay, but you'll get their benefit in terms of the SREC and in terms of the utility saving. So they don't want to participate, whatever is the reason, because they cannot get the tax. By the way, the tax credit you can, like I mentioned, you can stretch over 6 years. So it's a mode. If you take, I gave an example of 10%, but you mentioned, for example, okay, you mentioned 30. So take 45,000 divided by 30, $1,500. $1,500 divided over 6 years, you're talking $200 a year. It's not a big issue, for $220 every year over 6 years.
We're currently going through doing solar.
Okay.
We've got 43 buildings.
Okay, great.
We were initially wanted to do ground mounts in a
Okay.
retention pond. Because there's so many meters, I think we need 30 to 33 net meters. Now they're going to start, they may do some near the clubhouse, one of the ground mounts, and the rest are all going to have to go on the roof. It seems like there's been a lot of delay because of the net metering. Can you just give me an idea of the time frame from start to finish?
So look, in general, the utility is giving you kind of a hard time. They're not interested, they're not happy with that, because think, on the net meter, you're using their infrastructure, and you just pay to leave the account open, you'll pay $9 a month. My office building, for the last 8 years, I pay $9 a month for electricity for the whole my office building, okay? Because of solar. Meanwhile, I'm using the utility company to maintain the infrastructure, then whenever I wish, I can infrastructure. So utility will always, they are not the biggest partner for this when we can understand why. But on the other hand, that's the law. So eventually you're going to get it. So it's a fight, like he said this, and then you have to prove this.
It's roughly 900 panels, I think.
900 panels is not a big system. Okay, so maybe because of so many meters, they give you the kind of harder. Listen, it's also, with all the respect, I don't know who is installer, how much is he kind of diverse and knows how to deal with its agency. I don't want to speak on somebody else. Maybe they're good, maybe, I'm sorry. I can tell you that what we do, listen, we don't advertise. We build our reputation from a building to a building to a building. It's kind of references, okay? And that's how we build our reputation. And this is how we became in New York City, which is the hardest terrain nationwide to do, the biggest one. So if you know what you do and you dedicate to do it right, that's how you get, because all our customers are part cars. They do once and then they don't come back unless they have a portfolio of buildings that every year they give us another. But those are privately owned. Yes, sir.
We get separate rates on electricity inside the condo and separate rate for common areas. The common areas is commercial rate, inside the apartment is residential rate.
Correct.
So can we use the solar panels only for the more expensive rate to offset that, or we have to have for everything?
Okay, good question. Usually you'll do it for the common area. And the reason why, the common area, you are limited with space on the roof. So you cannot do all the residents or all the tenant and the common area. So with the common area, there's no doubt everybody's going to get it. When you talk about all the apartments, you might not have enough space to everybody to do it. So who gets to do it and who doesn't, it's going to get a problem. So I recommend, first of all, offset the common area. Yes, sir.
Is there a minimum installation before it starts to be worth it, or how does it
We
scale?
don't touch something too small, so less than 15, 20 kilowatt, we don't touch.
And how does this translate to size of building, or do you have a rough?
Look, we'll do a free estimate for everybody. I left over here some business cards and some leaflets. Please take, send us an email, send us your utility bill. Okay, we'll finish. I'm being told that we have to. Thank you so much. All right, you're welcome. Send it to us. You'll get a free estimate from us. And then you'll decide, go, no go. Good job, sir. Thank you.